All right, guys, we're live, and you guys have been asking for it for weeks now. I haven't done a recap video all season, but I'm going to go ahead and do a recap video this week. And you know why? Because it was a special week last week, and we're heading in to the most important week of the season, week 14. So we're going to dive into this recap, starting with my glorious victory over the diminutive Justin Beltran, the little engine that could, just ran out of steam this week. Shrek defeats Lord Farquhar. The good guy wins, the bad guy loses. That's how this goes. Now, how did this happen? You know, Justin absolutely refused to entertain any trade offers for Raheem Mostert. And honestly, this wound up costing him. The truth is you can't trust a Niners running back, and I should have known that when I was trying to make trade offers for Raheem Mostert. He's not a guy you need to be targeting. He'll have some big weeks, but you know who else will have big weeks? Jeff Wilson, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon. They will rotate all four running backs, and we saw why the fantasy football community freaking hates Kyle Shanahan. They hated his dad before him and will probably hate Kyle Shanahan's son someday. So that's really what cost Justin is, not knowing his own team. And, went out there and took a solid L to a much better manager last week. Not really much else to say. Hopefully this was a good learning experience for Justin. And next year he can come back as a better player because he really wasn't much of a challenge this year. Now, Chance the Dog versus Black Tuna. And what can we say about John's team? I mean, honestly, John's team is awful. Carson Wentz got replaced in the middle of the game. Miles Sanders. I mean, the death of John's team is really this Philadelphia Eagles fanhood. The Eagles absolutely suck. They're a terrible team. They don't score points. They're just awful. And John continues to roll out multiple Eagles every week. No idea what he's doing. Now, Tony's team managed to get a 30-point victory by scoring 88 points. Congratulations, Tony. You probably shouldn't have even won this game. Yahoo gave you guys a D- matchup grade. You two combined would have been outscored by Steve this week. So I think D- is awfully generous. I'm going to go ahead and give this an F-. You two both suck. You're not good at fantasy, and one of you is going to be competing for the GD. Spoiler alert, it's you, Vetri. Now, Tony's entire team is basically bailed out by Davante Adams. I mean, he's got really nothing else, and Davante Adams just keeps piling up points. Tony has ruined Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is not even ownable at this point. He has one game since he's been on Tony's team with 20 fantasy points. One. So he scored 5, 20, 11, and 11 since he's been on Tony's team. So he's been total garbage, just absolute garbage. So I don't really want to get into John's team. John obviously should not have been the league champion last year. And we're seeing that this year. He's come back down to earth as the horrible fantasy manager that he is. So Tony gets the win there. Congratulations. We got Reese laying the lumber on Jared and potentially ruining his season. That might be it for Jared. We'll see. But that was a vicious beating. I mean, when Jared needed the points the most, Mahomes, Tyreek, Kyle Rudolph, James White. Is that right? Hold on. Did he start Kyle Rudolph and James White? Okay. I mean, Brandon McManus? What the hell are you doing with Brandon McManus? The Broncos don't score points. Why don't you just go pick up the Jets kicker while you're at it, you dope? Jared is an awful fantasy manager, almost on the level of a John Vetri. And he's ridden Mahomes to this point, but it's awful. It's absolutely awful. Jared's not going to make the playoffs, guys. He's not going to make it. That's all there is to it. He's not going to. And for the love of God, for Christian McCaffrey's own health, please cut him loose, man. McCaffrey has done nothing to deserve this curse that is yours that you have put onto him. All right, so have some integrity. Don't be a weasel for once in your life. Just cut him loose, all right? Cut McCaffrey loose. Hashtag free CMC. Get it trending, folks. Now, on Reese's side of things, Cam Akers is exploding. He's doing a great job. But how are you feeling about Clyde Edwards-Helaire there, Reese? I mean, you were so excited. Like, yeah, you drafted Kamara. I'm so happy I get my guy. How you feel about that? Kamara's worth about 3 of CEH. I get to play him in one spot. So it is what it is. Actually, that I might have undersold it. He might be worth a little bit more than that. But there you go. So in any event, Reese gets the huge W that might keep him out of a GD matchup week 15 with John. And Jared, doing what Jared does when he needs the win the most, he crumbles in defeat. And we'll get more to that tomorrow when I do the matchup previews. Cobra Kyler versus Aaron the Goat, and Joe again with a horseshoe up his ass. Joe plays great defense, and when you play Joe, I think his defense has some bounty stuff going on. He gets a lot of injuries. So Frank Gore went down on the first carry of the game. A.J. Brown went down. Devonta Booker missed a big chunk of the Raiders game. McLaurin only had 2 passes thrown his way all day. I mean, Joe just played great defense. He got absolutely bailed out by the refs, missing an interception. The Ravens intercepted the ball. And then the very next play, they threw a touchdown to Amari Cooper. That was the difference in this matchup. That was more than an 11-point swing. That was the difference in the matchup. If the refs call that right, Joe loses and is fighting for a playoff spot. They didn't call it right, so Joe gets a win that he doesn't deserve. By the way, it took all this craziness happening for Joe to finally win a game. It's been 6 weeks since he's won a game. Finally gets the win, and it took basically an act of God to make it happen. Wouldn't count on it happening again anytime soon. Looking at Senior's team, I mean, his team is Aaron Rodgers, A.J. Brown, and Travis Kelce. That's it. The rest of his team is garbage. Jason Sanders is pretty good, I guess. But there you go. So they're battling it out. We'll get into more of that tomorrow for the matchup previews. The final recap, The Undertaker versus Jason Exotic. And it's almost like the curse is now a blessing to Steve. So Jared talking all of his shit, and, he's been so excited all year to be the guy that gets to put Steve in the GD slot at the end of the year. Well, guess what? Steve went out there and put up a $150 last week. He's not in contention for the GD anymore. In fact, he's in contention for the 4th playoff spot if he beats you, which you probably will do because you're cursed. So I look at this matchup, and I mean, basically, Steve had the best possible scenario. Pretty much everybody on his team went off. A bunch of guys that are never going to do that again. And on Jason's side, I mean, Jason's team peaked weeks ago. He's got nothing left. So Steve gets the win. Can't wait to do the matchup previews tomorrow. Man, it's going to be a fun week. So good luck, everybody.